Om. Sairam, everyone. Let's just recollect what we were discussing last week. We were discussing coming to the realization that everything is done by the Lord. And how do we have an experience of that? I think that was what we were discussing. Where Swami is saying that you have to have love for God and unshakable faith that He is the doer. And then we can have that exalted state of witnessing everything as the work of the Lord. I think that was in a gist what we were discussing before we left. I will ask the sisters that we will continue from where we left off.
Now, ordinary folk may get some doubts on this point. The Lord says that all things, both good and bad, originated from Him, and that He is the prime cause. But at the same time, He declares that He is neither bound nor affected by the effects or defects of all that has thus originated. He says He has no relationship with them, and that He is above and beyond that for which He is the cause. You might infer that man too is not in the least responsible for the good and the evil that is done through him by the divine, that his real nature is beyond both good and evil, that his acts, however evil, were basically prompted by the Lord himself. For man has nothing he can claim as his act. True, but faith in this attitude, that nothing is done by you, that it is all the Lord's will that is being worked through you, must be steady, sincere, deep, and unshaken. There should be no trace of ego. If that is so, then certainly such a one has attained the highest goal of life. He is blessed to the uttermost. That reality has to be known. That knowledge has to be stabilized. Indeed, he who has the conviction that all this is God, that he has no sort of relationship or kinship with the objective world, that he is above and beyond it, is the Satya Jivi, the individual whose sojourn here has been worthwhile.
Thank you, Kalyani. I would ask anyone, because we had discussed this last week also, if anyone has something to add to that discussion, if you all have come up with something over the weekend thinking about it, please share, Saira.
Oh, Sarah Uncle, I just wanted to ask about what it says in Telugu for the first paragraph, where it says, he is the prime cause, because it's capitalized prime.
I see, okay.
Okay.
Yes, Auntie.
ఈ విషయమున సామాన్య మానవులకు కొంత సందేహమునకు స్థానము కలుగుచును. దట్ ఈస్ డౌట్స్ మే అరైజ్. సమస్త మంచి చెడ్డలకు తానే కారణమనియు, సర్వము తన నుండే పుట్టినవనియు, అట్లుండి వాటి దోషములను తననే మాత్రం బంధించుటని గాని బాధించుట కానీ చేయవనియు, వాటితో తనకేం సంబంధము లేదనియు, అన్నింటికి అతీతమైన ఉన్నాననియు తెలుపుట్లో మానవుడు చెయ్యు మంచి చెడ్డలకు ఇట్స్ a big sentence.
I think Swami has just used the word karanamu, Auntie. No?
కారణం, సమస్త మంచి చెడ్డలకు తానే కారణం.
Yeah, that he is the cause. I think that's all Swami has used. But
that's what I was asking.
And then this part here, his real nature is beyond both good and evil, that his acts, however evil, were basically prompted by the Lord himself. Is that
You want
Correct.
Telugu? You want
Telugu,
Telugu?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. That is, his real nature is beyond both good and evil.
Yes.
మంచి చెట్టులను భగవంతుని
Mm.
ప్రేరణ అనే అని సంథింగ్
నేను వీటిరంటికి అతీతమైన వాడని ఏ మానవుడు తెలుసుకునో వాడే సత్యజీవి. దట్ ఈస్ ఐ థింక్ లాస్ట్
నో అంటే in the middle somewhere
somewhere you might infer that man too is not in the least positive.
see ఎట్టి మంచి చెడ్డలను భగవంతుని ప్రేరణ వలననే somewhere in the middle of that paragraph.
Correct. ఎట్టి మంచి చెడ్డలనియు భగవంతుడి ప్రేరణ వలనే అనియు మానవుడు ఎట్టి పాప పుణ్యములకు బాధ్యుడు కాడనియు తలంచవచ్చును. Man may think that he is not responsible for all the మానవుడు ఎట్టి పాపము.
So I think Swami is saying however good or bad a thing is, it happens because of the will of God. Auntie Saria, see, basically she wants to know ఎట్టి మంచి చెడ్డలను ప్రేరణ వలననే
భగవంతుని ప్రేరణ వలనే అనియు మానవుడు ఎట్టి పాప పుణ్యములకు బాధ్యుడు కాడు అనియు తలంచవచ్చును. People may think that they are not responsible for all evil bad things done through them.
So Swami is saying how good or bad, however good or bad it is, it happens through the will of the Lord.
Okay.
That is man thinks like that.
Yes.
Man thinks like that. It's not Swami's this thing, but Swami is saying you may think like that. You might infer that you are beyond. I mean, however evil, but basically prompted by the Lord himself.
Can we take it in this manner, like how we say, when we say that nothing, even a blade of grass cannot move without the will of the Lord?
Yeah.
Like it's like the sentience, like the consciousness, like at that state, everything is God. Like when you're in that state of Advaita and everything is one, in that state, then yes, it all acts good and bad. They're all prompted by the Lord, I guess. But like when we are in our dual state, like when I'm thinking of myself as a body and Swami as like my Lord, then in that state, is it right to say that my Lord would never prompt any evil? Like, is it right to say that? Because I'm having a hard time trying to find like in an evil act, trying to say that, oh, like Swami is behind that.
How can we say that? We can't. Actually, the above paragraph, there are, I think we read that. మంచి చెడ్డలను ద్వంద్వాలను చూసేది జీవదృష్టితో చూచినప్పుడు మంచి చెడ్డలు ద్వంద్వాలు కలవు. భగవద్ దృష్టిలో చూసినప్పుడు ద్వంద్వములు లేక సర్వము భగవంతుడే, మరేమి లేదని సర్వభూతాంతరాత్మ తత్వమును బోధించును. I think when some evil act is done by us, it is because of the way how we look at it. From Jiva Drishti, it is bad and good exist. But from Bhagavan's this thing, when it is through, when Bhagavan sees it as nothing, it's only one. Everything is good from him. I feel like that. I don't know.
Okay, then. Anyone else would like to share? Yes, Brother Dasan.
Yes, Sairam, brother. So here Swami is saying in anything good or bad is happening because of his will, whatever you said. Because he is the bipolar. But sometimes the people do good thing and they claim the fruit for them. But if they do any bad thing, they leave it to the God. So the people who is differentiating that one, only the people doesn't have that words, thoughts, deeds not aligned properly. If you align properly, then you won't say this bad happened. You cannot blame the God. The person who highly devoted to the God. If anything happened to him, he will take it as a God's will. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you very much, brother. Anyone else would like to share anything?
Sai Ram, I don't know. This is little bit confusing. If somebody is doing some evil, thinking that that person is doing the right, how could that be the will of God? I am confused here. Please help me.
Yes, Sai Satish, please go ahead. Auntie will.
Yeah, Sai Ramana. So this is with what Sister Kalyani had asked about seeing the hand of Swami even in something that has gone wrong. And that what I see is what we see as right or wrong is bound by Desha, Kala, Paristhiti. That is the place, the time, and the situation. And since we are bound by that time factor at that very instant, our mind gets into deciding whether that is good or bad. But if we look across time, that same thing that looked as bad at one point might end up being good. So for us, the flip happens. And but for Swami, it is always a constant.
Yeah, that's what
So,
I took.
yeah, yes, sir. So for Swami, it's a constant. So for Swami, he has always said that it is the divine will, right? So ours is knowing that the human understanding by itself has its limitations because we are bound by time and space. We can only see so much. We know the past, we know the present, we do not know the future, all of that bit. So for us, since we are not able to see all the 3 points in time, and we have our own, or I have my own limitations in understanding what it is, I start seeing the good or bad. But ultimately, in that divine scheme of things, I think it is ultimately what you mentioned, that it's no blade of grass can move without his will. So I think it is basically coming down to the limitation that we have, which makes us see a situation as good or bad. But in the overall things as it plays out in the cosmic will, it is nothing but cosmic will. And Swami has also said that whatever happens is good for me, good for me, good for me. If we feel that and essence that, then it will turn out to be good, surely, because Swami has said it. That's the kind of a thing. I'll leave it at that. Saira.
Thank you very much, Sai Satish. Yes, Sister Aruna, you have a question or something?
Sairam, brother. It's this is my understanding is everything is prompted by God. That is a good example to see the Mahabharata, the war. So to establish dharma, even the God was there to say that the fight's going to happen. Then he knows that's going to killing is going to be there. So it's prompted by Lord to establish dharma. So we see that as one side will see as a killing there, but it's all happens for good at the end. So it's all prompted by him based on what is that particular person has to experience it, that based on karma. So how you see it, that's how I will look at it. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you very much, sister. Thank you. Anyone else has something to say? So, okay, maybe anyway, thanks for everyone. I think everyone looked at it at different angles and said. So I think I will share what so another slightly different perspective, I would say. See, I think what Swami is trying to impress on us is that actions by themselves are neither good or bad. But what is our state of mind, what determines whether something is evil or bad. So because of that, we really cannot evaluate what others are doing at all. Impossible. Because we really do not know what their state of mind is and what they're going through. So I think, first of all, we should understand that this teaching is for each of us in our own life, in our own actions, number one. So what Swami is saying is, if the action may be good or bad, it may look bad or good or evil or bad, if a devotee has unshakable faith in the Lord, and if the devotee does not have any trace of ego, and he has total love for the Lord, he does not have to be concerned about good or bad. Actually, the devotee will not even think about good or bad. And the classic example which comes to my mind is Hanuman. When Hanuman went to Lanka and, Ravana caught him and they wanted to punish Hanuman. They said, we can't kill the fellow because he's Dhuta, he's an emissary, so he cannot be killed, messenger. So what we can do is we will hurt his pride. So they, burnt his, tail. He jumped all around and burnt the entire Lanka. So the thing is, if someone were to look, you'll say, he put the entire city, he burnt everything. Ravana was not punished, but he burned the entire city. This has always been, that has been a thought, what did Hanuman do right? That was something which had always been a question for me, coming from Sri Lanka. Because whenever there is, riots and, houses get burnt, I am always reminded of this. The thing is, Hanuman did out of total selflessness. He had total love for Rama. He was there only to serve Rama, only to do his bidding. And what prompted him, he just did it. I'm sure he did it with chanting Rama, Rama, Rama. Okay. So he was not touched by that action. The Lord took care of it. Others may have told, this fellow is burning our city and all that and called him bad names. But was he affected is the question. So ultimately, Swami is trying to give us, I think, an instruction. Always think about developing love for the Lord. Have total faith, unshaken faith in Him. Don't have any trace of ego. Whatever you do, if you think you have done well, if people call you all names, you will not be affected. You should not be affected. Because you are not here for other people's acclamation or somebody saying evil. Ultimately, a devotee who does anything will not be concerned, is this good? Are the others thinking it's good? They will not even have the doubt for this action, because while doing or while thinking about doing also, they would have only thought of the Lord. No other thought would have prompted him. That's what I can see from based on what Swami is telling. So Swami is not ruling it out that such a thing is possible for a devotee. But he says, that's why he starts with saying that is true. It is true. But then he says, but check whether you have total faith, that, nothing is done by me. Do you have that thought? Do you have a sense of ego? Do you have total love for the Lord? I think that that is the touchstone on which we can test any action of ours. We really cannot comment on what others are doing. So that's my perspective. So I don't know whether it confuses things more or not, but I thought I would just share. Saira.
Thank you, Aruno.
Sairam, Sister Shivani.
Sairam, just to add to Brother Aruno, what you said is when and what we are reading is when you do anything with full faith and understanding that everything is Lord, to me is self-confidence. Because when we talk about self-confidence, and I used to ponder what is self-confidence, that I'm able to do it, and it might have some shades of egoism. But when you do something with full love, with full devotion and faith that I am nothing, it's just everything is, every act is His, then you're not pleasing and you're not looking for any acclamation, is self-confidence, because this is not me. I'm just doing it with full intention. And I guess I'm just repeating, it is self-confidence and Atmavishwas. Saira.
Thank you very much, sister. Thank you very much.
Anna, just extending to that point, what you mentioned about Hanuman. So maybe after he burnt to Lanka, suppose he was held and asked the question, why did you do, or put to some punishment, I think he would have just accepted that also with the same equanimity, because it would have not mattered to him that he's doing it for Lord Rama. I think that outcome also they are unattached by that. So yeah, thanks. That was beautiful.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's exactly. Because, I still remember 1984 when Swami asked us to go to Sri Lanka, and when I went, the home in which my parents were living was half burnt. The smell of that burnt furniture and this lasted for years. I think it was 87, 88, by then that smell itself. So I used to think, it would have been, this is the way things would have been when Hanuman burnt. Those were some thoughts. It brought some memory back. Yes, Brother Hasan, please go ahead.
Sairam, brother. So I have a doubt here. So Hanuman burned the Lanka, and he gave the ring to the Sita, and he was so happy and went back to see Lord Rama. But Rama didn't look at him for a day. He was so upset. Then he found out finally, Lord Rama said, "Why did you burn the Lanka? Did I ask you to do that one?" Even though he had the faith.
Brother, what is the source of this? Is it Ramakatha Rasa Vahini? If it's not Ramakatha Rasa Vahini,
no.
So I think we will, if we are going to talk about it, we have to go to Ramakatha Rasa Vahini.
Yeah, but yeah, okay.
Okay, because these are, people have come up with these ideas, and they put their own ideas also into the story. So because I will stop, because
okay,
such a devotee. So if we want to know about Ramayana, I think we all should read Ramakatha Rasa Vahini.
No, I didn't go through the Ramakatha Vahini. This one is just one of the study circle.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
Let's go to the source.
Okay, then.
Undiluted, because Rama was so happy Hanuman came back.
That he was happy, but he didn't ask to burn the Lanka. That part he didn't happy. That's the only part.
Yeah, so this is others' view.
Okay.
But I don't see reading that in Ramakatha Rasa Vahini.
Okay.
Because Hanuman apparently, so that's why I'm sorry to stop you there.
No, it's okay, brother. Thank you. That's
you can
fine.
Again share. Otherwise, I can look up Ramakatha Rasa Vahini and read now.
No, but the reason I wanted to find out why, even though Hanuman did it with the love, with the devotion and everything, that connection I didn't get that one, because he, with the full faith, with the Rama's name only he did it. So here the bipolar and everything, that connection was not there. That's what I didn't understand.
See, if it was not there, he couldn't have jumped up and back and gone back. He couldn't have gone. If the ego had taken a little bit of it, Hanuman could not have flown back to Rama. So my view is that so we can refer to but otherwise when if other sources come, sometimes things can get a bit confused. I'm very sorry.
No, it's okay, brother. We can continue with the rest. Fine.
And Anna, just adding to that, to what brother was also saying, when Valmiki wrote Ramayana, it was man looking at man. That is Valmiki looking at Rama as another man. When Tulsidas or Kamba Ramayana came up, it was man looking at God. That is, whether it was Tulsi or Kamban looking at Lord Rama as God. But when Ramakatha Rasvahini was written, it was God looking at God, God writing his own story. So that one writing about themselves will be the most authentic. So that way, just going with that will help. Just sharing in line with what Anna had mentioned and this thing. Thank you, Sairam.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to clarify that sentence versus true, but faith in this attitude, because I think that Telugu had talked at this point about the Nishtala Nirmala Niswartha Prema.
Yeah. Paramatmani pai kaligi undina. Yeah, that's what. What do you want, Kalyani?
So I just want to clarify. So Swami saying all this is true. Is there a but in the, because here in the English it says but.
But is there. But is there.
In Telugu as well?
Okay.
So but if you have that Nishtala Nirmala Niswartha Prema for God, there's nothing more meritorious and there's nothing more blessed than that. That's what Swami's saying.
Yeah.
So, but okay, so say even if you didn't have Nischala Nirmala Niswartha Prema, even if you didn't believe in God, or you know, is everything that Swami has said up here in this first part of the paragraph still is true? Is it still true? So even if someone doesn't believe in God, they don't have prema, but whatever acts they do, those are still being prompted by the Lord. Is that true?
Can you repeat the question?
So, because if I try to understand what Swami's sentence is here, so Swami's saying you can infer that man is not responsible for the good and evil that is done because every act, no matter how good, no matter how evil, is prompted by the Lord. And then here Swami says true, so indicating that everything above here that we discussed was true. And then he says, but if you have Nischala, yeah?
True. What is Swami referring to? People think it is, they infer. That's the first word.
Right.
Infer man too is not responsible for the good and evil. So people may think like that. It is true. People will definitely think like that. That's where he stops there. There is a comma, true. But faith in this attitude that nothing is done by you and that it's all the Lord's will that is being worked out through you must be steady, sincere, deep, and unshaken. Here also Swami is saying this. Nijame. వాటితో తనకేమి సంబంధం లేదనియు మానవుడు ఎట్టి పాప పుణ్యములను బాధ్యుడు కాదనియు తలంచవచ్చును. He may think that he is not responsible for all the bad and evil things which are happening. That's nijame. Nijame is true. Aite there, but is there. But faith in this attitude, the same thing he has written in Telugu.
Right. So my question is, even if you don't have faith, all of that is true still, right? But whatever acts you do, no matter how good or bad, they're ultimately prompted by God. Is it true?
So, okay. So Kalyan's question is, whatever is happening, the thing is, the prompting comes from the Lord for any action. I think that's the question you're asking. The prompting comes from the Lord from any action, and that is at the deepest, innermost level. But when the signals come through, how that motivation or activation by the Lord happens, that comes through our mind, our body, and so on. But as long as we keep them free from ego, free from any negative qualities, what the Lord wanted will come through. So the thing is, we should understand that our job is to make sure that what was prompted by the Lord comes through without any modification on our part. Sadhana is all about that. And Swami says that can happen if we have steady faith, if we do not have any trace of ego. But the Lord prompted will naturally happen through us. Then the question comes, if we harm somebody, that person is harmed. So then, so how can the Lord wish that to happen to that person when, because of our own failings, that has happened? Okay, I think that's where you are going. I hope, because then the thing is, how can that be prompted by that? If the Lord prompted, how can that happen to that person? But I think this is where the theory of karma comes. I think one of the sisters mentioned, because if the person was meant to experience that, for example, I may see somebody and throw a stone, but the thing is, the stone will not land at that person if that person was not supposed to receive the stone according to that person's karma. But the thing is, have I did something wrong? Yes, I have done, because I have thrown the stone. My action stops there. What the other person reaps is that person's. Because that's why Krishna is telling Arjuna, all these people are already killed by me. You wage the war. So the thing is, that is what a devotee understands, that this whole drama in this world goes on because I am just an instrument of the Lord. I should not let my ego affect what the Lord is doing. I just think of the Lord and enjoy what's going on. So that is the way I understand, but I will open it for others to comment as well. Sai.
Aruna,
Please go
Arun,
ahead.
yeah. I want to add one more thing. You said, no, divine will is prompting you to do something. If it passes through the mind, through our own mind, it depends on the purity of our mind. When the mind is pure, nothing, even the actions done by you will not have any this thing. But if there is any kind of malam or something is there, kalmasham in our minds, definitely the action will result in something bad. So that's how we can take. So even though Bhagavan wills all the good and bad through us, through the mind, the bad will happen only because of our mind's condition. I feel like that. Sorry.
Thank you, Auntie. Anyone else has something to say?
So is it right to understand that the prompting of the Lord is always good, is always
Good.
positive?
Yeah.
It's neither good or bad. It's divine will. So the thing is, see, this is where I think the thing is, Auntie said, if I do something bad, there will be something bad happening. Actually, the real bad which happens is only to ourselves. Because if we think something bad, the bad has already happened to us. And, we may not reap it today, but one day we will reap it. So the thing is, every action of ours, the only impact is only ourselves. Because that determines our own experience in at some situation. But the thing is, if we think we are more powerful than that to inflict harm on others, even if it was not meant to, then that is a sense of ego, is what I understand. So ultimately, what decides is our own antakarana, our own inner feelings, inner bhava is what matters, because the Lord can take care of everything else. For example, I will take the story of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu wanted to harm his own son. So many things he did. But was he doing something bad? Yes. But did it result in something bad? No. To Prahalada, no. Because Prahalada was it was not meant to experience that, the pain. So Prahalada was always happy. So that is an example of, even when somebody intends to do something harm, the Lord may have told you, be a father and be good to your son. That's a prompting. But Hiranyakashipu's ego, pride, everything makes that energy which God has given and do something bad. But Prahlada was not affected by it. So the thing is, the result is independent of what we are trying to do. Action is all within us, our own head, our own heart, our own mind. And I think that's all we should be more concerned about. Even though if we have intended that way, if you have intended something bad, we have already done the bad thing. And it doesn't have to even materialize in action. But we have already engaged. Jesus says, how many of you have, if you think, then you have done the action. That type of thing is what my understanding is. But I don't want it to be an argument or anything, but others, anyone has something to say, please do so.
So, Sairam brother, that means if we do our action without the body consciousness and without the ego, then we can take it as a God's will and God's sankalpa. But most of the people, they have that whatever you said with the ego. If we can trace that ego and body consciousness, that means we are failing in that one. Thank you, Sairam.
Okay, thank you very much, brother.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, sister, go ahead.
Yeah, it might be a silly example, but I'll just share with you. We read something about something around the same thing last week, and then I was pondering the whole week that, how at every moment we can offer or think, as you said, prompting other people to do, and whether it's in my favor or not. It's a very small incident happened yesterday that we're supposed to go somewhere, so I cooked a dish to take with me to my cousin's house for her. And I don't know where my daughter came. I was in the other room and she finished that dish which I prepared. She came, she was hungry. She knew mommy is making, and I have no idea. And I was listening to bhajans, and usually I dish out before I leave, in a different dish to take it. During bhajan, I don't know what prompted me to go and in the kitchen and dish it out. And when I saw it was empty, I said, oh my Lord. And then I said, okay, Shivani, just think, Bhagawan has prompted the child, and can you make it again? And I made it, and I realized I missed 2 ingredients in the previous one, but the next one came out much better than the other one. I'm just thinking I have to hold back myself with the thought I would have really got upset with my daughter. At least you would have asked me, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, if everything is him, he prompted her to eat. And let me see what else can I do with my composed and calm and all of that. Believe me, I felt, I don't know, I'm on that journey, but I felt it was a good thought to hold back your thinking and getting upset and seeing God in everything, to the effect that even anybody comes and you have to do extra work, it's okay because he wants you to do. But he prompted me half an hour before I was leaving so that I can prepare another dish, but which was much better. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, sister. I think first time when Swami prompted, you didn't even know why he prompted you. You cooked, thinking it's for someone else. But then Swami prompted your daughter to go and eat, and she ate.
Yes.
Second day, when Swami prompted, you realized, oh, it's for this purpose.
It's a beautiful thinking, I would say. I don't know what, but thinking just he is to that level as well, made me feel very good, very, very good. Sorry.
Thank you, sister. Thank you. Anyone else has something to say?
I just wanted to add the same thing again, because when Arjuna is killing, okay, in the war, he has no ego that he is doing it, and with the full faith he's doing. So that is prompted by God. So we see as he's killing, but it's not. But for himself, he's, after he realized himself and taken out his ego and deep faith, like a strong faith, he's doing it, then that is okay. So
Thank
that's
you.
how I look at
it. Because I created this problem with Hanuman, so I have pulled out Ramakatha Rasa Vahini. I will just quickly, I don't know whether I should share or I should just read it out if everyone's okay. Quickly, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because I don't want anyone to go thinking,
Yes.
Yes, please.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Yes.
So this is a chapter in Ramakatha Vahini is, and it's 157th page, okay, Ramakatha Vahini 2. And Swami is saying, realizing that the monkeys were proceeding towards him with the news of a successful mission, Rama and Lakshmana seated themselves on a huge boulder, watching the group hurrying forward. They advanced in leaps and bounds, quite excited, and fell at Rama's feet. First, Rama inquired about their health and welfare. Meanwhile, Jambavan, the senior-most among them, rose and said, "Those who have earned your compassion are indeed blessed, that endows them with all the virtues. Such a one's renown will encompass the 3 worlds." He praised Hanuman in various ways. Hanuman rose and prostrated before Rama. He described in detail the island of Lanka. He told him of the plight of Sita with tears of joy and commiseration flowing from his eyes, and placed in Rama's hands the crystal that he had brought with extreme care and caution. Rama clasped Hanuman on his bosom. He said, "O son of the wind god, tell me more of Sita, her plight, pray." Okay, so 1 second. Her plight and her feelings. Hanuman said, "O Lord of my life, it is impossible to describe. Sita is reduced to bones, and for she does not take food or sleep. She is counting every minute, praying for your darshan." And he goes on and on. And then Lakshmana gets excited and says, "Let's go now," and all that. Then Hanuman tells later, The strength and courage of your name confers help us to achieve those things. I am absolutely unable to do, by myself to do anything. The ring of yours that I had with me guarded me and guided me all right. Lord, seeing the ring and holding it in her hand, how happy was mother. Is this a dream or was it really sent by Rama to me? She wondered thus, doubted thus, and finally became firm in faith. Lord, her grief, the extreme anguish of hers, they set fire to Lanka and destroyed it, not I. You chose me as an instrument and you achieved these great tasks with me as a tool. All this is a blessing bestowed on me since you have great affection toward devotees. Lord, nothing is impossible for one who has won your grace. When Rama heard these words, steeped in sincerity and humility, he was very pleased. He turned to Lakshmana and said, brother, prepare for the campaign without delay. So this is what Ramakatha Rasavayani says. So at no point Swami, said, Hanuman, you didn't do the right thing. Hanuman himself said, oh Lord, it is the anguish of Sita which burned Lanka, not me. So those were the words Hanuman told Rama according to Swami. Okay. So Hanuman is the great devotee. The thing is, unfortunately, I think it's my personal view. There are so many versions, so many WhatsApp messages of Bhagavatam, Mahabharatam, and all sorts of things. And we all just get sucked in because it sounds pretty plausible. And sometimes it appeals to our logic. So we embrace some of them. Hanuman, we cannot find a devotee like Hanuman. That's the way Swami, has said. So I thought, sorry, Brother Dasan.
No, it's okay, but thank you very much, brother.
Yes, because I don't want us, I want us to understand that Hanuman is a great devotee and we should emulate him as the best devotee. And
I agree, brother.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Kalyani, I hope your questions are all okay.
Sorry, I have just one further question. I may not. It's just that so Swami saying that everything comes from him, including the ignorance and including all the bad qualities. All of that must also be him, since there's nothing else other than God, right? Like all the ignorance.
The qualities are all also created by the Lord.
Yeah.
But Sattva, Rajas, Tamas are all his creation. But he wants us to use each of those qualities also in the appropriate way. Mm-hmm. For example, Tamas means sleeping. So that means we can sleep for 6 hours or 7 hours, however we are tired. But if they take the tamas and apply it during the day and sleep without doing any work, then the tamas is misused. Yeah. So Rajasic means you should be active, and for that also there's a limit, what you do, how you do. So each of the qualities also have a positive aspect as well as negative aspect. So when it's done with positive activity, it's done well. That's why everything comes from God. Yeah. For example, if I am able to do something today, because of the breath which I am inhaling, the oxygen which goes, that is what makes us to function. The food which was created by God has been eaten by us. So it's a God who says, I am the one who is digesting the food for you. So actually, God's energy is actually activating us all the time. But what Swami wants us to do is recognize that. Once you recognize and you are continuously aware of that, whatever you do, think, say, will be what the Lord wants. So I think that's all sadhana. So Swami is just pointing that out. That is why everything is created by God. Everything happens, but we have a small role to play, which God has given, which is looking after our own self, our own mind, cleanse the mind, cleanse our senses, control them. Don't have ego. I think this is all we can do. And then the Lord's work will continue to happen, is my understanding. Sai Satish has raised his hand. I'll ask him. Sai Ram, Sai Satish.
Sai Ramana. So I was just going to add to what you said earlier as well. Swami always says that like the rainwater, which is pure, it falls in a pond, it falls into the gutter, it falls in the river, it falls into the ocean. And when it falls into or goes into the oyster, we know the outcome. So in terms of what comes from God is purity, but what it gets transformed to is based on who receives it in what state. So if it falls into the gutter, of course, we know it becomes a gutter water, but if it falls into that oyster, it becomes the pearl. For God, truly in the ultimate sense, He is just showering. But who is receiving it ultimately is making that into a good or a bad. And people who are again perceiving that, because we attach value to the pearl, I'm going to say that it is good. But for somebody who doesn't attach value to it, maybe it is not. So ultimately, it is who receives that part from God, and because of that, it becomes what. And frankly, just extending along the same lines, whether it is Hanuman or whether it is Arjuna, after the battle, suppose Arjuna was held to task, why did you do it though Krishna told you to do? Couldn't you think why you went about killing people and held to task and things like that? For him, frankly, it would have not mattered, because ultimately it was Karishye Vachanam Tava. I am doing as per your dictates, and that's about it. So when Swami says doing with that kind of love, that kind of complete egolessness, later on when any outcome also they have to face, they will face it with the same equanimity that is always there. So it is not about whether success or failure happens, good or bad happens, but how I as an individual react to that success or failure, how I as an individual react to that good or bad kind of a thing. So it is more of my reaction or response that I have to a situation that taints the whole thing. Because God ultimately, like we know, Swami says, is that that whole thing, nirmalam niranjanam sanatanam niketanam, that whole that so it's just purity that comes from God, but what it gets transformed is based on the individual who interacts with that purity and changes it. Saira.
Thank you very much, Sai Satish. Thank you.
Can I ask a question if I'm not going to take this discussion in a different direction? So, yes, as brother said, he's showering his grace, that is, but who is receiving and how it's transformed? So, isn't it is also, you need sadhana for that in order to receive the right way, because we all are getting his grace, but are we recognizing that is also unfortunate on many of us, that we don't realize it because of whatever of our karmas or parabdha karma. But and again, we need to do lots of sadhana in order to receive the way it should be received. Just asking a question,
Thank you.
because it looks
Yeah,
like he's showering his grace the way it should be. Why some people are not able to take it the way it's supposed to, an oyster is. So I'm just thinking, do we need to pray to him, please shower your grace and I should receive the way you want me to receive?
Okay, thank you, sister. Thanks for the question. Yes, Brother Tasan, please go ahead.
yeah. The reason is we have to understand whatever we see, everything Maya, good and bad, everything Maya. This is created by the Lord. But in order to understand that one, of if you want to come out from the ignorant, it's like, for an example, if we see a rock, we think like a snake. But when we have the light, we understand, okay, this is not a snake. Same thing, we are in the dark. In order to get the right vision, that God vision, we have to have the pure love with the God. When he's the only Satguru can give the divine light in order to see, we can come out from the differentiation. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you. Anyone else has something to say? It's the question. How do we, how do we get to that place of, having that conviction? Should we just pray or do sadhana? Or we should pray to the Lord so that we can do sadhana? Or we should pray to the Lord so that we pray to him for sadhana? So what should we do to get to that point? I think it's Sister Shivani's question. I think it's silent. So I think I will fill the gap. The thing is, sister, from what I understand, if we are aware at every point, every moment in our life, that whatever we are doing is because of the grace of the Lord. I'm able to sit, I'm able to stand, I'm able to breathe. If we continuously are aware of it, we will not think or worry about anything else. And that I think Swami, I think later on Swami is talking about it. It's only through practice. Every day we have to practice, every moment we should practice, we should remind ourselves. That is sadhana, because ultimately once you know that you're aware of the presence of the Lord and what the Lord is doing, that itself will solve all the problems. Because then you don't need to know that something is happening because of us. If we have the firm conviction that we are nobody but the Lord, Lord who is working through us, making us think, making us breathe, making us walk. If we can remind ourselves all the time, at some point, Swami says, Swami, the last sentence says that knowledge has to be stabilized. Indeed, he who has the conviction that all this is God, that he has no sort of relationship or kinship with the objective world, that he is above and beyond it. So, we should not think that we have a relationship in this world also. We are only related to the Lord. We are here because the Lord has asked us to be. He is making us do things only because the Lord has asked. The Lord is the one who is feeding. He is the one who is keeping me alive. He's the one who is helping me breathe. If we can remind ourselves that every breath, that, it's Lord, you are making me breathe. Lord, you are making me breathe. And I think through practice, I think we can reach that state, which is what Hanuman, why I mentioned the Hanuman was, when Sita gave a necklace, he threw it away, And, when he was asked, you are having a body, does it chant the name of God? So every hair of his body was chanting Rama Rama. So Hanuman is the ultimate example. You just chant the name of the Lord all the time. Think of him all the time. I think that's the solution. But, it may, we have to practice. And I think with Swami's grace, one day, hopefully we'll achieve in some lifetime. That's my thought, but others can share anything else you all have. Any other approach, Saira?
Thank you.
Because once you have that thought, we will never take credit for anything in this life. If you take credit for something, then that's the problem. That's when the fall starts. I did this good thing, that's enough. Once we have that problem, anything if something bad happened, that also becomes ours. Yes, so Kalyan, you were about to say something.
In the example that Brother Satish gave, so the droplets, the water from the sky is the grace of the Lord, but then the mud was also created by the Lord. The oyster was also created by the Lord. So it was the Lord's will that some of that water became muddy water and some of the water became an oyster pearl. So I'm just wondering, like, when we have like those negative feelings in us and like we're feeling like tamasic or rajasic or whatever, like, so Swami saying all of that, even those negative things are also Swami, it's also him. Like, is there something that we're supposed to learn from that? Like,
okay. So, if there's a negative feeling in us, how do we treat that? I think that's the question Kalyan is asking. If we have a negative feeling, should we think, oh, this negative feeling is because of God? Or is it not because of God? I think that's the question, Kalyan, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Swami's saying it is, like, because there's nothing else. Like,
okay, I will again open it up. Sai Satish, you are the oyster example. So,
Yeah. No, just.
So Kalyan is asking, how do we become oyster from mud?
Yeah, and I was just seeing like what you were saying earlier to what Sister Kalyani also has asked, because there is nothing like part-time devotee kind of a thing and this kind of a thing. So it is full-time devotee only, and because Hanuman is the representation of that full-time devotee, and yeah, and because I'm seeing like what Sister is asking, it is more like everything is God, everything, even the gutter is God, even the oyster is God. So because at that level of things, like I've heard of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, where he holds gold in one hand and he holds mud in another hand, and he says both are the same, both are the same. And Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had to practice this to a level to become the Paramahamsa. Like he became from Gadadhar, he became Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. And for that, he had to hold literally gold in one hand, mud in another hand, and say, both are the same, both are the same, they are no different, and then throw both away. So I say that for such a great devotee, if practice was needed, then what is like my lot kind of a thing, where of course we have seen Bhagawan, so that gives the thing. So ultimately, anything, and I've shared this earlier, and Swami would say this, he would say practice, practice, eating practice, walking practice, reading practice, writing practice, everything practice. Literally from the time we learned walking or sitting or eating, everything has been practiced. So in terms of spiritual thing also is practice. So when even a negative feeling arises, when it's, yes, it is Swami, but it is like pretend, tend, and end. Initially, we may have to like literally pretend kind of a thing, like Swami, please guide me. I am taking even this negative feeling as you, it is you. And then we, from pretending, it will start tending. It will slowly, it will start becoming from something that is voluntary to involuntary. And then we will end up doing that, where when it comes, it will be second nature that, yes, this is Bhagwan. This is Swami, who is the same Swami who is inside me is also coming to me in this form of a negative thought or a positive thought, whatever it is. It is you, Swami, it is you and you and you alone. And then when we really essence and end up being that, then everything is divine. Nothing, whether it's gutter or whether it is oyster or whether it is rain, everything becomes Swami and Swami alone. So I would go with that thing of what Anna was saying on the practice, because great people of that stature have practiced to become that. So then I think that's where we have to be at it. And sadhana is nothing but, we all know about it, every day at the same time, same place. It starts with that kind of a thing. So it becomes practice, it becomes second nature, then everything falls away. But we have to keep putting the effort. Saira.
Thank you, Sai Satish. Yes, Sister Shivani.
I'm going to share something. What I have learned and practicing, this mind is the biggest culprit, which makes us think bad or good or uglier. And I have realized whenever I have bad thoughts, I just say, this is just the mind is playing that. Or even if I'm doubting some of the learnings or some of the teachings here, or does it work? It's just the mind is playing all that game. So I said, nope, I'm not going to get trapped into that. I have so much love for, I tell these things to me. I say, I have so much love for Bhagawan. Everything is good. So I guess it's just understanding is a mind who's telling us good, bad, ugly, and love Bhagawan so much that overpowers the thinking. Sayam.
Thank you very much, sister. Yes, Brother Dasan.
So Sairam brother, whatever I thought, Sister Shivani taught, that whatever we see in the universe is a Maya. The what is real is absolute. So Atma is real. So we have to, how we can realize that one, how we can do the sadhana. We talked about many times, heart is the key and that key is the mind. So when you turn towards inwardly, then you will understand the absolute. Otherwise, you will trap into the Maya. Thank you, Saira.
Sairam, brother. Thank you. Yes, Sister Ananti.
Sairam, in order to treat the same as gold and mud in our maybe the perspective, in order to treat both elements are same. My understanding, we should keep away our buddhi. Then only we can treat both elements at the same scale. And even Swami said that the maybe the human being is made up of body, mind, and atma, and the mind then further divided into manas, buddhi, chitta, and ahangara. And I thought putti is an important element to differentiate or discriminate the good from the not good things or the bad things. So if we don't need buddhi at all, why God has created the buddhi first of all, and even if God is created, we may use it for maybe for our for our personal purposes. Whatever it's good, we will make it as good. Whatever we think bad, we can make it. We can maybe make it as bad in our thinking also. But Swami said, we shouldn't compartmentalize spiritual and the worldly activities. Both should be same. If that is the case, if we go to the work, and definitely we have to use the buddhi to discriminate what is good, what is bad, and some sort of personal judgment in making the decision. But here in the spiritual path, all over the teachings, maybe the last week's session and maybe the previous week, I understand that somehow we should keep away our buddhi. Then only we can take anything, everything in the same line. Good or bad, everything is good for us, and everything is for our well-being and those things. How we can bring it into the reality that when we perform the work life and the spiritual life in the same manner, if we don't use buddhi and if we keep it away, that important element in the human being. Thank you, Saira.
Sairam, sister. So Sister Anandi has another layer of question, which is, so where does discrimination come into play if we think everything is the Lord's will? I think that's, in a nutshell, is what you would like to know. So Anand, sorry, I think before we address that, maybe I will address my 2 cents for Kalyani's question. Kalyani, I think the question is, how do we reach this state? I think your question was, mud was also created. The oyster also was created by God. So mud can't help itself but be muddy. And the oyster created by God is producing a pearl. The thing is, in Sanatana Dharma, the oyster became oyster after a long time before being the mud. Okay. So the thing is, it happens over lifetimes or through progress. So ultimately, that is the reality. Okay. So one day, a mud particle also may be born as oyster. But for that, the mud has to be the best mud possible. Okay. So that's the reality. But then the question, how do we look after the qualities which are always causing problem in our mind? Very, very, I think Swami has given simple solutions. He says the Nama Japa will solve all the problems. Hanuman is the best example. The Nama is the water with which you wash impurities in you. So the thing is, you will not worry, how come this dirt came? You will just wash it. At home, if dust collects, you don't think, where's the dust collecting? You will just every day if you clean the house will keep clean. So the mind, whether you realize it or not, it's going to pick some dirt somewhere. Just like our clothes, our body, they have to be kept cleaned, and only the thought of God will be cleaning us. As soon as you think of God, you are cleaning yourself, because God is purity. With clean water cleans dirt, isn't it? So just like clean water, God's name, God himself is clean water, pure. So you just, the more and more you think of it, mind will automatically get cleansed. And so we can never stop that process, because as long as we are alive, we have to keep on cleaning, because it will accumulate dirt. Because indriyas will capture something, it's bound to. So I think by keeping it clean, one day we will also become oyster. Maybe not in this lifetime, maybe next time, maybe after 10 births. But today we can only do what we can only just keep on washing the dirt. So everything is clean. So sadhana is nothing but keeping it clean. How do we keep it clean? As soon as you think of God, it's cleansed. As soon as you think of God, it's cleansed, because he is the only thing which is pure. Just like water only you can wash. You can't take dirty water and wash something dirty. It is not get washed. So it is simple. Name of God, thought of God will cleanse the mind. And one day we will become oyster, even though we may be mud today. Okay, I hope that question is answered. So we will talk about Sister Anandi's question, because these are practical questions, I think, because we have to deal with it every day. I think Sister Anandi says, if I say everything is God's will, shouldn't I be going to work and discriminate what to do? Okay, I think that's the question. So how do we reconcile thinking that everything is God's will and applying discrimination? So if you do that, maybe we are not thinking that God is doing. If you think God is doing, then we may not apply discrimination. So how do we use these faculties God has given? I think it's the question which Sister Anand is asking. So I will open it for discussion, because these are all practical applications of what Swami has told. So that's why these questions are being entertained. Okay, so the question is, how do we balance in discrimination and this conviction that God is doing everything? I hope, Sister Anandi, I have summarized your question reasonably accurately.
Certainly, brother. That's my the question and the concerns to how we would, balance it, or how we will either discriminate, whether we have done it correctly or exactly. You have the paraphrase nicely.
Okay, thank you very much, sister. Yes, Brother Thasan.
So brother, before you enjoy, or before you use your intellect or mind or anything, if you want to enjoy the object, surrender, or you just offer to the God before you take over the ownership, then it will go into the right path. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you. Anyone else who has something to say?
Saramana.
Yes.
So I'll just continue with what you said earlier with Sister Kalyani's thing, and then come to this, because I got very tempted when you mentioned about water washing the dirt away with the name and everything. So just recollected an incident where one of the boys was in front of Swami, and Swami was asking him what is going on, and then he was trying to hide from Swami because he felt like a lot of bad thoughts and all were coming. Then Swami was saying, bumsu, jumpsu, and all that he was telling. And then that time Swami was having pan. So when he just touched his kerchief there, a small stain came to that kerchief. And then Swami showed that kerchief and says, what do you do when your clothes get dirty, or like this kerchief has got dirty or soiled? And then it was like, Swami, we give it to the dhobi. And then Swami said, like that, when your mind gets soiled, give it to me. I am your dhobi. Like literally, I am the washerman who will wash away that soiled mind. So when Anna was telling, like, chant Swami's name, and if we do Namasmarana and go through that, it just reminded me of that part where if we just think of Bhagawan and offer it to Swami, even that negative thought, he will wash it away. He will ensure that that same negative one, as soon as it touches him, becomes that beautiful um, pearl. So that is one stuff. And then going to Sister Anandi's thing, like whatever happens is God's will. Yes. So fire burns. So that is the nature of fire. So saying that I have complete faith in God and I put my hand in fire, it doesn't mean fire will stop burning. It will burn my hand because it is the nature of fire. It is the dharma of fire to burn. Even when Shirdi Baba put his hand into the fire to save the child, it burned Shirdi Baba's hand. Just that Shirdi Baba was not affected by it. So in the context of using our discrimination for anything in life, it is our discrimination that we have to use, given that it is given as an instrument for us to use for anything in life, to know what is good or bad, what is right or wrong, and then do the right thing. But if we are in that level where we go, everything is God, then we have literally, so we have like Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. If you are in the level of Anandamaya Kosha, that everything is bliss, everything is Bhagawan, everything is God's will, then even the Vijnana or the discrimination we don't have to use. We can just drop it. But if we are at the level of the Annamaya, or we are still traversing from the food sheet to the breath to the mind, we are in that realm, then we definitely need to use the discrimination faculty to see what is good, what is bad. So though we know that ultimately everything is God's design, we also have to respect the laws of the world, the way things shape up and behave accordingly. So we need to use the discrimination faculty so long as we are at that level. If we go beyond that, of course, we can drop it and everything is divine. There is nothing more to talk about once we have realized that we are that divine.
Thank you very much, Sai Satish. Thank you. Anyone else would like to? So I will just thanks Sai Satish. Sai Satish very adequately explained what I was thinking also. I will just add just a bit. Swami says the discrimination faculty, which is buddhi. Swami says there are two levels. One is called individual discrimination. The other one is fundamental discrimination. Individual discrimination is used generally, or is it good for me? Is this successful? Will it lead to the best results and all that? That is where most of us are actually functioning, I think. But then Swami said there's something called fundamental discrimination, which thinks about what is permanent, what is impermanent. What will God want? What will God doesn't want? Things like that. I think so. Those, until we get to that point, which is, everything is Lord's will, and you just do what the Lord wills through you, and at that point in time, we only look at what is permanent, what is impermanent. What is permanent is only God. What is impermanent is the world. So until we come to that stage, we'll have to use individual discrimination to a great extent so that we can maneuver in this world. And I think then there's another solution which Krishna gives. I think we may be discussing. He will say, whatever you have done, if you think you have done, just offer it to me. First, you give up the wish for the fruits. Then you say, you offer it to me. Then you say, the Lord, I want to do your work, please operate through me. So these are, I think, different stages of how we grow to that point where Sai Satish was saying, we are in the Anandamaya Kosha. The one who is in Anandamaya Kosha, we will not even think, should I discriminate or not, because he is only immersed in the thought of the Lord. Nothing will come to that. This is like the Gopika's tree, she went to light the lamp in Vasudeva's house, young girl. And she thought she saw Krishna in the fire, and she was staring at Krishna in the fire, and her hand was burning. Everyone else screamed, but she was not screaming because she was only experiencing Krishna. That's heights of devotion. So when Sai Satish talked about Shirdi Sai Baba, his hand was burned, I was reminded of that story. Swami tells that again and again. He will sing a song also, with such joy, Swami will sing. So Suguna is the name. And how her hand was burning. She didn't need discrimination because she was already in the Anandamaya stage. And that is ultimate devotion. Thank you. I hope I have stuck.
Uh, the,
Brother,
uh,
what is the song, brother?
Huh?
What is the song you are referring to, please?
Sugunaku kanipinjanenta. Like that, I will
Please,
not.
please sing,
Because
please sing.
I will ask Auntie to sing.
Auntie, please sing, please.
Lima, I know it. I don't know it. I don't know the song. If
Anna, yeah, it
Nice. You know the song?
Yeah, yes, Anna. So it goes as Manasugunaku kanipinchedanta, Manasugunaku kanipinchedanta, Nanduni inta Gopaludanta, Deepala kanipinchedanta. So it just goes as, Sugunaku kanipinchedanta, meaning it was, he
revealed
was
to
seen by, he was seen by Suguna. Nanduni inta, in the house of Nanda, Gopalu Danta, that is Gopala, Deepala Kannapinchedanta, in the flame he was seen. So that's how, and then like Anna described, Swami would say that her hand literally burnt and she,
Yashoda came running.
but
Yashoda smelled the flesh burning and came running and asked, "What is wrong with you?"
okay.
and
So much.
Sairam brother, the both brother Sai Shadis and brother Arunu brought a really enlightening point to me. Up until now, I thought only individual discrimination. Today, I am really clear about there are two types of discrimination: individual and fundamental discrimination. I believe many of us, we always miss the fundamental discriminating part. In the worldly level, we use the individual discrimination and we always think whatever we have done that's right or wrong, but very few people, they will move to the other stage and they will look at the fundamental discrimination. That's an excellent point, and that's a good thing I learned today. Thank you so much.
It's all Swami's grace. We are just narrating what Swami has said. That's all. Okay. Yes, Auntie, you wanted to say something, Auntie?
One final point which we are forgetting. See,
Yes,
everything is done by us. But what Paramatma is saying, what God is saying, it doesn't have any kind of relationship with me. That point is very important. All this is done by our Jiva. But Paramatma, Brahman, who is inside us, he is not affected by all the actions what we do. That's what I wanted to bring it out. Sorry. That's the final.
Thank you. Yes, Brother Dasan.
I'd like to add one more point, brother. That's what whenever we do any sadhana, even at the Sai Center, even at home or anything, if we offer to him, we'll get the discriminating power. Not only that, by the grace of the God, we'll get the detachment from that one. So the detachment is the important thing, will come from the discrimination. Thank you, Sairam brother.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you very much.
But the Auntie, according to this paragraph, the Lord is prompting. Okay? So the prompting part is the one. Yes.
Maybe you say that he is prompting, but the actions which I do or which you do, it does not concern in any way to the Lord. The fruits of our actions, everything is why I'm going to go through it, not the Lord. Lord is not concerned. Lord is not, he is beyond it. He is about. That's what he wants to say that.
Yeah, the prompting part, I think, so then the discrimination part comes, then we have to offer to the Lord. So we won't be attached. That's how
until we reach that stage, we are not attached to these fruits of our actions. Then, your karma is nishkama karma. Yes. But Lord is not at all concerned about it.
Yes.
our tamasic, our sattvic, our rajasic nature is making us do things, actions. But he is not concerned about it. That's what in the last paragraph Swami is trying to say. Saira.
Sairam. Sairam sister, just
Brother, oh sorry, brother, before that question, brother, then why God is prompting is the key, right? Then
see, sister, that's what I was trying to say. Because at home we have electricity. You put on a switch, a fan will swirl, a bulb will burn. If it's your TV, it will start singing and dancing or whatever on the screen. Your printer will print. So the thing is, the electricity is not bothered, but what the instrument which is connected to the electricity. Without the electricity, nothing in this world will work. But if I'm a printer, I have to be a good printer. If my printer is defective, it'll be jamming all the paper. Okay, it will not do a good job. So then it has to be repaired. If your fan is not working and it is making some noise, it has to be repaired. Electricity just makes the fan go round and round. So God is that electricity which makes everything in this world function. Without that electricity, nothing will function. But if we want to be a good instrument which runs on that electricity, we should make sure that the instrument is in good shape. It should be properly maintained, looked after, oiled, whatever you have to do, you have to do. So we are all such instruments working on the electricity called God. So once the switch is put, only the fan can function. Without the electricity, the fan cannot function. If we are a cranky old fan, we will make all sorts of noise. But then blame it on the electricity. Electricity will say, I don't have anything to do with that. Okay, so this is the discrimination. This is the difference. I hope Auntie is okay with my analogy.
Yeah, correct.
that's good. Thank
We
you.
have not moved an inch today.
We have not learned
It's nice. It's nice to have so many, of course, questions answered, doubts cleared. That's very important.
Okay, so maybe we will move. I don't know if anyone had
It's almost time now.
4:19. We could just read at least.
And I read, yeah.
Something new to think of.
Yeah.
Words, however, are futile. You may repeat, like a parrot, that which has been taught for long. Certain set phrases like, everything is the Lord's, I am but a puppet. He pulls the strings, and I dance as he wills. Nothing is mine. I am just carrying out his will. But what do you usually do? When a praiseworthy act is done, you claim it to be your own. When a blameworthy act is done, you ascribe it to the prompting of the Lord. You shout from platforms till your throats get dry, that you won by your own effort, honor, fame, status, and standards, authority and position, property and possessions, attainments and achievements. But when it comes to confessing your share in earning ill fame and defeat, evil and wrong, you conveniently transfer the responsibility to the Lord, saying, I am but an instrument in his hands. He is the master, I am but a tool. This has become the habit of man today. Nay, it has developed into a fashion. People swing from I to he like the pendulum of the clock. This is sheer deceit, hollow spiritual sham. Mind, word, and act, all three must be filled with the belief that all is his play. That is a genuine path. It is a human frailty to separate things as good and evil. To impute this to God is sacrilege. It might appear sometimes that the Lord too has that weakness, but it is a passing phase, a cloud that hides his glory, not a blemish that adheres to him.
Okay.
Thank you, Kalyani. I think Swami, if we wanted to move, Swami is not moving.
That Swami is not. We want to be there.
It's like the Varnashrama discussion, I think. So there's nothing for me to add. If anyone has something to share, please do so.
Basically, last paragraph, mind, word, and act. All three must be filled with the belief that all is play. That is the important message which we should get here.
What does Swami say for play in Telugu?
Chaptan Dhamma.
There's one more thing, Lord has that weakness too, that also we
It is here. Bhagavantani Leela Vibhuti. It's played, he says it's Bhagavantani Leela Vibhuti. Kalyani, it's translated as that.
Leela Vibhuti?
Leela Vibhuti. His play. Manovakaya Karmalandu Kuda Sarmamu Bhagavantani Leela Vibhutiye and a Druda Vishwasamanu Kaligi Unduta Chakkati Tattvamu. That is the genuine part in Chakkati Tattvamu.
What does that mean? Chakkati?
Chakkani means good. This is the real tattva of Swami. Manchi Chetalu Manavani Drishti Doshmule. Again, you know the same thing. It is Jiva Drishti from which we see only bad and good. But from Bhagavan's Vitini Bhagavantani Endu Nirupinchata Dharma Viruddhamu. It is against the Lord Dharma to superimpose upon God, saying that God did all these things. God did the bad thing. To impute this to God is sacrilege. That's what he said. Dharma Viruddhamu.
Is it to impute that God separates things as good and evil is sacrilege?
We sometimes blame God, saying that he is the one who made us do this. That is wrong thing. We are unnecessarily putting all the impute those things to God. Our human frailty, human weaknesses, we put it onto the God, saying that he is the one who made us do it. So it is wrong, he says, Swami is saying. For that play, it is clearly written, Bhagavantani Leela Vibhuti. Arun, did you refer to that Telugu one?
Yes, but I think the translation is a bit confusing, is my view on it.
Manovakaya Karmalandu Kuda Sarvamu Bhagavantani Leela Vibhutiye.
Yes.
Anna Druda Vishwasamanu Kaligi Yunduta Chakkati Tattvamu.
Yes. But what they are saying, Auntie, God's Atti Bhagavantani, I think next two lines also, just read.
Atti Lopamulu Bhagavantani Kudano Avarinchinnattu Atulu Appadappudu Teliyanunduno. It might appear sometimes that the Lord too has weaknesses. Itti Lopamulu Bhagavantani Kudano Avarinchinatula Appadappudu Teliyantunduno. Agupinchuno. It looks like.
It seems that. Okay.
Kani avi satyamulu kavu. Megamalu akasham nande putinivi, ande sancharinchinavi, aite akashama megamalunu astrayinchunnada. Then it goes to the next paragraph. I
think they have not Kani avi satyamu kavu.
That's where he is.
That is not translated, Auntie. That is not the truth.
It's not
the sentence which Swami has said.
Yeah.
Kani avi satyamu kavu. Yeah, such such impressions on us, thinking that even God seems to be making some
weakness.
Yeah. So that is not true. That's what Swami says. Okay, that's our own imagination. So that means that is because the clouds clouding us It is like the sun is hiding. It's the sun playing hide and seek of the clouds passing. Sun is not trying to hide. It is just the clouds passing, and because of the clouds, we think the sun is hiding, or something of that sort.
No, it's not. It is between space and clouds. That's what he is going to talk in the next paragraph.
Okay.
I think not yet come. Not yet come.
Yeah, okay. Because those two lines are in the next paragraph in Telugu.
No, yeah, it's in the paragraph.
It might appear actually. Yes.
ఆకాశము మేఘములను ఆశ్రయించి ఉండదా. మేఘములు ఆకాశమునందే పుట్టినవి, అందే సంచరించునవి. అయితే ఆకాశము మేఘములను ఆశ్రయించి ఉన్నదా? ఈ స్పేస్ డిపెండింగ్ అపాన్ ద క్లౌడ్స్ లేదు. పొగని then he goes to fire, and then smoke is dependent on the fire, or fire dependent on the smoke. All those things he comes. I think we should.
I think we can. Oh, it's 4:32. Very well past. It's Swami's will. What can we do?
It's Swami's will.
So we will close the session with Samastaloka, and we'll continue. It's a very gripping discussion, so we'll continue next week. Saira. Om Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sairam, everyone.
Sairam, brother.
Sairam.